watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions. You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
And hello, welcome to the Scottish Football Zone on a wet Thursday night. It was a mixed reaction tonight. And in fact, it was a positive night for a change for the Scottish clubs in Europe. Just finished at Ibrox, Rangers 2, the Big Reds nil, and beyond 2 each in that league for the Celtic game. Well, here, get your comment coming in, and we'll be talking to you as always. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. It's at the bottom. It's the Scottish Football Zone on YouTube as well. So we're going to touch upon the games, guys, tonight. First up, Rangers, Alex. What about that? I know that Rangers can't qualify now, but I suppose it's just good to keep that positive momentum up at Ibrox and keep on winning the games.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Europa League is done for Rangers at this point now. So yeah, just getting a win under the belt is good. That's 7 wins on the bounce in all competitions now for Rangers. Just keep the momentum going into a big game on Sunday against Dundee. Wasn't a pretty watch. I mean, loads of greats weren't anything special, but Rangers didn't take their chances. They should have probably scored 2 or 3. The attacking play was not good tonight at all. It kept breaking down in the forward areas, making stupid decisions. I feel like they tried to overplay it a few times as well. There was one in particular where Mo Diamande did really, really well to spin the defender. Probably should have shot himself, laid it off to Miovski, should have had it first time, tried to do a little back heel flick or something, and it just didn't work out, and I was screaming at the telly for one of them to shoot. But yeah, other than that, it wasn't a perfect performance, but like I said, good to get a win under the belt and keep the winning streak going.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't 2-0 to Rangers, it was 1-0, just to clarify.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree with a lot of what Alex said there. Although it's sometimes difficult to get up for these games as players when you know that in terms of progression in the tournament there isn't much up for stake, but there's financial implications. You get obviously more money for winning games and drawing games than you would if you lost the game. And of course, as Alex said, it's good to keep that run going. 7 wins on the bounce for Danny Rowe, his first win in European competition, which also shows the progression that Rangers have made even between the last European game they played. And of course, the other thing, which is probably the biggest of all, is the Rangers, maybe not Scotland coefficient as a whole, because we understand that's a mess, but Rangers are still in a sort of salvageable position, although Olympiacos are maybe got more momentum. Their win last night, a couple of nights ago against Bayer Leverkusen meant that they edged ever closer to Rangers on the top of that club coefficient chart, which Rangers were top of last season and still at this current moment are top of. So tonight's win would have helped them towards securing that for the end of the season, which in the scenario that Rangers were to win the Scottish Premiership title this season, they would automatically go into the UEFA Champions League and skip any qualifying rounds, which you would like to think that whoever wins the league in Scotland should be strong enough to get past the qualifying rounds. But you obviously seen what happened with Celtic against Kairat Almaty this season. So that's something that ideally you want to avoid. And this result tonight in Rangers' next game can contribute towards that. I think Olympiacos play Ajax in their last game, which you would probably fancy Olympiacos to get a result, considering how poor Ajax have been this season. So big win for Rangers in that context, and a decent goal from Mohamed Diamande in a relatively poor game, as Alex said.
Yeah, there wasn't much on offer tonight, but I suppose it's just getting that win under their belts as well. I mean, Rangers had a lot of the ball throughout the game, but I mean, I think the highlight for me, Alex, was obviously the goal that Rangers scored in the first half through Demande, and that's by Jack Butland as well.
Yeah. First of all, I'll start on the last part of your sort of question there. That the Jack Butland's save in the first half was absolutely tremendous. Striker should have scored, no doubt about that. But it was just a terrific save. And Jack Butland has come up in some big moments recently. He's been criticised, rightfully so, for some mistakes he's made over the past couple of years. He's not been able to emulate his first season at Ibrox, which had him back in talks for the England squad. He's fallen off a bit since then, but obviously he's been very, very good recently, and he pulled off another really good save tonight. And yeah, Rangers' goal, it was a wee bit of a scrappy goal, you could say. It was a nice finish from Diamande, good reactions from him, but yeah, that was the goal that got it over the line for Rangers. And I feel like if they hadn't, this is going to sound really silly, but if they hadn't have scored in the first half, it would have been like, I reckon it would have been just one of those days where they would have been just hammering away, and there wouldn't have been anything. Nothing would come of it. So I think Rangers did well to get that goal in the first half, and they were the better team throughout the game as well, but they weren't spectacular either. Like I said earlier, I wasn't particularly impressed with Ludogorets.
No, and obviously second half, Raskin had a shot and Finlay Cards. But I'm interested to know what you feel about him, Alex, because they were talking about during the game, and Alan McCoy's saying that he must stay at Rangers to the end of the season because he could play a vital part because Rangers are back in the title race.
I really like Finlay Curtis, but I see the issue here is, although he's been very good when he's played, I think overall there are players who are more ready than him, who obviously have more experience than him, and Rangers have just brought in a very experienced winger, sort of their token signing of the January window. Couldn't feature tonight, but he will probably feature on Sunday, and Andreas Skov-Olsen. They've been linked with a few other wingers as well. I think the best thing for Finlay Curtis would be probably to go out on loan. And it's difficult for me because I really like him, and if I was selfish, I'd want to just keep him at the club. But I think he should go out on loan to a place where he can get regular game time. I feel like he's different than some of the other ones in the past who have gone out on loan, and that's sort of the end of the Rangers' career. I feel like Finlay Curtis, if he goes on loan for a few months from now till the end of the season, gets regular game time, comes back after playing really, really well, he could easily break into this Rangers team in the near future. I genuinely see a future at this club for him. He's better than the ones that have broken through before, I think, and failed. Your Ross McCauslins, your Alex Lowrys, I think he's better than all of them.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that, and I think it is a different scenario for Finlay Curtis, where you do look at the possibility of him going out on loan to even a fellow Scottish Premiership club is a great opportunity for whatever club would have him, and a great opportunity for him to play regular minutes. Although I think it was Kilmarnock with the team that have been linked with him the most. I think he would be an excellent addition for them because they need a player like that. In a minute, a winger who can drag them forward and stuff like that. So yeah, I completely agree. I think Finlay Curtis definitely can have a future at Rangers, but I'd agree. There's no point really him sitting at the back of the squad, not getting regular first team minutes when he's still so young.
Yeah,
And
one thing though that I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, Michael, there was a wee jump there, and I didn't realise you were talking.
It's all right. Now, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say one thing that people might bring up. We're talking about a young Scotsman coming through and potentially loaning him out in favour of keeping and developing a young Englishman from Tottenham. It's kind of, and if you want to think about the benefit of Scottish football, you would keep Finlay Curtis and you'd maybe try and prioritise him over Mikey Moore. But I think in the short term for Rangers, if they're going to win this league title, I think we've seen Mikey Moore probably offers a bit more than Curtis does right now. Obviously, I think Moore is younger than Curtis as well, which is funny. You think about players in different ways. You don't, because Mikey Moore's sort of established. You don't think of him as being younger than Finlay Curtis. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, that is something that I think people will bring up, and something that has crossed my mind. Why are we developing England's players when we've got some of our very own in our backyard who could break through and potentially be very, very good? But I think for Rangers in the short term, if I'm going to answer my own question, like I said, Mikey Moore does offer more at the moment and could help Rangers win this league title, whereas I think Finlay Curtis, he could play a bit part, but I don't think he's going to have a major impact on the outcome of the season.
Yeah, I think obviously Danny Rowe, as you've seen, prefers Mikey Moore from the performances you've seen, and quite rightfully so. He starts almost every game in Rangers' strongest side. And yeah, I agree with the argument, and I think it's probably Rangers are put in a difficult situation because I think Spurs probably have a certain amount of games he needs to play or a certain amount of minutes he needs to play. I'd imagine they probably have something like that in the agreement. So yeah, it is unfortunate that, as you said, we're developing an English player over a Scottish player, but at the minute Rangers don't really have the option to sort of choose. They need the best squad possible, and I think Mikey Moore's probably ahead of, or definitely ahead of Finlay Curtis in that if they want to win the league title.
Yeah, no, Shamita, that was the first time I've seen him live tonight, Alex, and he kind of impressed me in part, but he kind of grifted out the game.
Yeah, he did towards the end, but I think he did what he does. Yusuf Chermiti is going to sound silly, but I think we're coming to the conclusion that he's not a goal scorer, which is ridiculous for an £8 million striker. But he does basically everything else so well, and he facilitates for his teammates. He brings them into the game. He occupies defenders. His footwork isn't the worst for a big man either. So he did drift out the game tonight. I think that was just the nature of the game itself. It wasn't really suited to him, I think. But seeing these games where I think he probably should have started Miovski tonight off the back of his hat-trick, and also I think the European game fits Miovski a bit better. In the games where Rangers are needing to sort of break down hard defences and coming up against big defenders like they will against Dundee, Yusuf Chermiti will be perfect for that. He was excellent against Aberdeen in both games. He was excellent against Celtic. He's brilliant at what he does. It's just unfortunate that he can't seem to finish. He had an opportunity tonight where he should have scored. So yeah, I think I don't know if there's potentially an evolution of this system where, because Rangers don't really play without and out wingers. I mean, Gassama likes to hug the touchline, but Mikey Moore's usually more in a sort of a free roaming role. So I wonder if there's a scenario where Rangers bring somebody in who's more of maybe a striker / centre forward mould, who plays off of Yusuf Chermiti and who is a goal scorer, because I feel like that would be, a lethal combination, because yeah, like I said, Chermiti does so many other things really, really well.
And like even I know Rangers are away next week to Porto, and a lot of people would think it's a dead rubber, but not to Rangers fans and the Rangers players. They were going to go over there then put on a show and win the game, even though they can't qualify. But it's good to keep that kind of like winning run going, and that the confidence will be on the up.
Yeah, exactly. And getting big results away from home in Europe against a team like Porto is certainly not a bad thing for every. I know in the aspect of getting out of the league phase that it means nothing, but in terms of as I mentioned before, the coefficient, the earning Rangers some more money, and for the players as well, because these are the games that the players will really stand tall and show their skills on a continental sort of match, whereas it's all well and good playing well in the Scottish League week in week out, as we say, but I think to really show your worth of going to getting a big move to another club, maybe in the Premier League or something like that, then you need to be showing your best football in these games, and that's the challenge that these players will want to live up to. Of course, there's a lot of Rangers fans that I know some as well that have already booked to go over there to Portugal for the match, not knowing, of course, that in the context of the Europa League it would be a dead rubber. So you've got to deliver for those supporters, and I think Danny Rowe's team will. I don't know if it'll be a win or a draw or whatever, but I think they'll go over there and make a good showing of themselves, because that's what they've done pretty much since Danny Rowe's come in the door.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a really tough game. And Ethan, you mentioned the coefficient there. Olympiacos are right at Rangers' backs, but I did read something. It might have been Scotland's coefficient that posted it. The fantastic page on X. If you want to learn about the coefficient, hop on there. Because I would not be able to keep up with all this stuff without it. So I think he actually posted that Rangers needed to win tonight and at least get a draw against Porto to be able to secure that spot for the automatic qualification if they were to win the Scottish Premiership. So there is something to play for in terms of that. I don't know if the players would be made aware of that. I just think they would be made aware that they need to go and get a result, as they would be in every single game. But just interestingly, I was looking at Porto, and I saw a video the other day, and it actually astounded me. So Porto are top of the League of Portugal. They've played 18, won 17, and drawn 1. But the stat that really, really astounds me, in these 18 games, they've conceded 4 goals the entire season. So it's they did draw 1 each with Victoria Pilsen tonight. So and that's a team that get hammered off a Russell Martin Rangers side. So you never know. But that's not how football works. at the end of the day. So yeah, Rangers will really need to buck up their ideas in the attacking areas if they want to break down what has been the best defence in all of Portugal this season, and probably one of the best defences in all of Europe this season.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And for Olympiacos, they've not got any more incentive than the present. If they win, then they're into the playoff round of the Champions League phase, so they'll be looking at that game, especially against Ajax, who are really quite weak at the moment. I think they've still got a slender chance on 6 points, but yeah, as you said, I think the players will be made aware of it, and I think it would be something smart for Danny Rowe and the Rangers coaching staff to play into when the game comes around next week, because of course the players shouldn't need any added incentive to go and win a match regardless of what it means in the context of this season. But you can say to the players, if you go and get a really positive result tonight and you come away from Portugal feeling like you're happy with your performance and the scoreline, then there could be Champions League this season if we hit our goals domestically. So yeah, I think that's something that Danny Rowe and his coaching staff would certainly be wise to play into, but I'm sure the Rangers players will be made aware of it and will be aware of it if we are.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, we are fine. Thanks for asking. Yeah, just on here talking about the football, you know what I mean. But yeah, thanks for watching, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Rob, on YouTube watching as well. So yeah, that was Rangers. What do you make of kind of like Danny Rowe? I know this is a bit of a daft question, but I think the supporters are all behind him now because he's got a song that I won't repeat the song on here because that might offend a lot of people. But yeah, what do you think of him so far, Alex?
Sorry, you cut out there. What do I think of what so far?
No, I was going to say what do you think of Danny Rowe so far? Obviously, he's got a song made up.
Yeah, no, Danny Rowe. I've probably been on here singing his praises hundreds of times on the show that so far this season. I'm fully behind the guy. He's the man. You can see what he wants to do. You can see he's tactical. He's practical as well. Tactical and practical. He knows what he has to work with at the moment. He did the same at Sheffield Wednesday. It wasn't the prettiest football, but he had the player. It was the players at his disposal. He works with that. I mean, we saw the polar opposite in Wilfred Nancy, where he tried to impose his system straight away with Celtic when he didn't have the players that he probably would have wanted to execute his system. Whereas we've seen multiple systems from Danny Rowe. We've seen multiple tactical changes. We've seen that flexibility, that willingness to look at a game and go, this isn't working, or I don't have the players I need to execute what is my vision at the moment. He's not one of these guys, the modern day managers who come in with a philosophy right away and go, this is the way we're going to play. Danny Rowe, he's, like I said, he's flexible. And Rangers have now got a few players in the January windows. You might see more of how Danny Rowe, a completed Danny Rowe Rangers team would look. I don't think we're going to see that until at least after the summer. And I'm confident he will be able to impose his style, because see, even if Rangers win the league this season, I think it'll be with a team that isn't Danny Rowe's vision at the moment. I think it'll be with a team that is the start of something, and yeah, I think there's a lot to build on. For the rest of the season, you won't see. I don't think we'll see what he wants to do with Rangers like to the fullest extent. We'll obviously see glimpses, but you can't do that within a January window. So I think we'll continue to see him be flexible and work with what he has.
I was speaking to someone at the weekend, Ethan. I do get out by way at the weekend, get out and community service, and I was speaking to somebody about Danny Rowe, and he says that he's a football fanatic, that he drinks, eats, and breathes football. So that's kind of news to Rangers fans' ears then.
Yeah, and it's and you can see that in the way that he goes about his business. I think you've seen that since the start, and the way that he's been able to get results since he's come in. He's won 13 of the 21 matches, if these stats here are right, which is really good considering where Russell Martin was when he took charge. And yeah, it's about that. It goes back to maybe. Well, it's a bit of a thing that you could associate with a lot of German coaches or just Germany in general. The German efficiency is what Danny Rowe's shown. He's not doing anything special with this group of Rangers players, which other managers struggled under. He's getting results and he has them well in the competition for 2 trophies, which I think a lot of people, including Rangers fans, would have laughed at you if they had been offered that at the start of the season, especially under Russell Martin. So yeah, he's done a really good job, but ultimately he'll be judged on what silverware comes back to Ibrox at the end of the season. I don't think they'll be it'll be worth sacking or anything like that, but that's how the narratives run in this country, as we know.
See, I think he's inadvertently maybe shot himself in the foot by bringing Rangers back from the brink, because I'll speak from my own perspective. See, with Martin, I'd resigned myself to the fate that Rangers weren't going to be seeing any silverware this season, no matter how I spoke or outwardly projecting myself. I mean, you know, this Ethan, I joke a lot, and I joke and I pretend that I'm overconfident and all that. But I'd resign myself to the sort of fate that Rangers weren't going to get any silverware this season, and Danny Rose sort of brought real hope. I'm enjoying watching Rangers again. Like when the football was on, I was getting to that point where I was like, I watch it, but it's more like a chore. Like I kind of have to watch it, you know, because you'll always watch your team. So it's, but now I'm enjoying watching it again, and he has brought that hope to Rangers fans, and if it continues on this trajectory, it will turn into expectation. And like I said, he might have inadvertently shot himself in the foot by doing so well.
Before we move on to the Celtic game, Alex, let's talk about Sunday very quickly. Going from European football to Dundee, and I suppose no disrespect to that team, but maybe that team was at the same level as Dundee, you would say tonight, Alex?
I don't know if we're. I don't know. I feel like Ludogorets probably. It would be a good game, we'll say. Might be a wee bit disrespectful to Dundee actually, because I don't know. I feel like that's probably going to be the more difficult of the two. It's very different opponents, different competitions, different styles. But no, Dundee's a massive game. Every league game's a massive game, and depending on the result of the other game on Sunday, it could be even more massive for Rangers. It could be the opportunity for them to gain points on the current title winners elect, or or jump ahead of their city rivals, or both if it's a draw. So Rangers just need to get the win, and make sure it's a good one. I mean, Dundee have been good recently though, so I'm under no illusions. I don't think it'll be an easy game, Steve. I mean, Rangers have improved since that first meeting where they drew 1 each. However, Dundee have improved as well, so I think it will be a very, very interesting game between Rangers and Stephen Presley's Dundee. A lot of players to look out for. I mean, I'm really fond of Ashley Hay. I think he's a great player. He's recently found goal scoring form after struggling for most of the season. He's started hitting the back of the net, and he can't seem to stop. So he's one to watch out for as well. So I think it'll be a really, really good game.
Let's go over to the city rivals then. Ethan, Bologna and Celtic. That game was 6:15 kick-off tonight, and 2 each. But a messy park, but it was still a very kind of entertaining game. Let's speak about the Atari thing going off in a minute or two, because it was one of these ones where if Celtic gets beat tonight, they would blame the thing, of Atari and all that. But no, it finished 2 each. What did you make of the Celtic performance up until that, even? Because I thought Celtic were right in their faces from the first whistle.
Yeah, I thought Celtic were excellent, especially even for the whole of the first half. Really, Celtic were excellent. I've seen people being a little bit disappointed with the second half performance, but Bologna, despite their recent run, they're a top team in Italy. Of course, they were Champions League last season. They've grown the culture of that club under, of course, their captain tonight, Lewis Ferguson, who's still yet to beat Celtic, which is crazy.
Yeah, I can't believe that. Yeah.
And yeah, they've come up as a club in recent years, and now they're one that you associate to be battling for the places, the European places of Italian football. They'd only won one of the last 9 going into this, I think. So yeah, they're not on a very good run, and it felt like for them, especially in the first half, that it was just when your team's on one of those runs, and I think Celtic were maybe on one of those runs, contributed to by Wilfred Nancy's poor coaching, where it just seems like everything's going against you. The first goal, the goalkeeper has just come back, makes a terrible pass out from the back. Good pressing from Daisen Maeda and Rio Hatate, who I thought both started the game really well, and then it's a tap in from there. And then obviously they get the man advantage when Hatate gets the second yellow, and then the second goal.
Can I just talk about that second yellow for a second?
Yes.
I thought that was really, really harsh on Rio Hatate. Obviously, I feel like if you make contact like that, you do run the risk of, getting sent off if you're already on a yellow. But it was barely anything, and the Bologna player sells it like he's been shot in the leg, and I don't even think he touched his leg. So I was a wee bit perturbed at that decision at the time. I was, cause I saw the replay. I was like, oh my God, you have some self-respect. He's gone down like a sack of potatoes after getting grabbed on the arm. And he barely even touched them. So yeah, like I said, he does run the risk, but I thought it was very soft and very harsh on Rio Hatate.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. The first one, you can't have an argument. You could have got 2 yellow cards for the foul on Lewis Ferguson. He pulls him back and then he kicks him after giving the ball away in a really good scenario for Rio Hatate. And then the second one, they're both running for the ball. I think Miranda actually puts his arm on Hatate first, but Hatate sort of gets caught with his hands in the cookie jar in that way, where the left back sells it, and he goes down, and the referee sees it that way, and you can't really have any arguments with it when he does give the decision, because he hits the player on the left back on the arm. But as you said, I thought it was harsh and really quite unfortunate. But Celtic had to dig in. Then they obviously get the second goal, which comes with a little bit of fortune as well. Kieran Tierney was taking the corners on that side, which I noticed, which is quite strange. Usually Arne Engels taking them. I'd imagine it's something to do with the setup of having a man light. And then a great ball in from Kieran Tierney. Engels gets the flick on, and then Austin Trusty can't really miss from there. He nearly obviously did, but the way it bounces, he done well to keep it under the bar. And massive goal for Celtic at that stage. But you know there was going to be an onslaught in the second half from Bologna, and that's what it was. They must have put about 50 crosses into the box. It seemed very similar to that game in Bergamo last season, where Atalanta were just throwing everything in from the wide areas, and Austin Trusty and Liam Scales were just clearing it all out. I thought Austin Trusty was excellent. Liam Scales had a good game as well. I think a draw was probably a fair result. The amount of chances Bologna had, although I would say their 2 goals are come a little bit of fortune, especially the second one. I think Kasper Schmeichel maybe should do better with
fortune.
If you let me finish, the fortune comes with the fact that Dalinga is possibly in an offside position. I'm guessing they checked it. We didn't get any pictures for it, but he was standing maybe in eye view, and I think Liam Scales maybe ducked out of the way of the ball. So I think Kasper Schmeichel's got to at least attempt to go to the ball, but at the same time, Jonathan Rowe hits it with power. Celtic shouldn't allow him to even get a shot away. I think Kasper Schmeichel maybe should do better with that one, but he had a really solid game, made some good saves, and I think a draw was probably a fair result. In the context of Celtic qualifying, it doesn't really mean anything. I think going into tonight, they would need to win the game at home to Utrecht, and I think that'll still be the case. Rangers have helped them because Ludogorets are one of the other teams that are close to Celtic, and had they get a result at Ibrox tonight, they possibly could have knocked Celtic at the top 24, but they're a place below Martin Neil's side. And I think what you've seen from Martin O'Neill in the last 2 European games is he maybe gives optimism that the Celtic fans can hope for maybe a run like the 2003 one. I don't think that'll be the case, but they've played against 2 top sides and got really decent results on the road.
What do you think of obviously? I mean, even let's be fair, right? If Rangers won 5-0 tonight and Celtic won 5-0, somebody would find something to moan about on Twitter because that's what they do. Keyboard warriors, and by the way, that it's not me; it's saying that as well. But I think that the second half, the whole Celtic team played well, but the man that stood out for me tonight was Trusty and Donovan.
I thought the whole back four was really solid. Austin Trusty was man of the match. I don't know if he got the award, but he certainly should have done. Gets the goal. I think he had something ridiculous, like 18 clearances, which is just crazy. I know Celtic are on the back foot almost the whole game, with a man down and the crosses coming out in the box, but he didn't make any errors. He made some big blocks as well. Scales was solid alongside him. Kobe Donovan had a really good game like he did in Rotterdam, and Kieran Tierney was solid as well. I thought Cal McGregor and Arne Engels had a really good game as well in front of them. They had a lot of ground to cover, a lot of defending to do, and I think this is why Engels gets the attention he does from clubs across Europe, because he is prone to turning up in these sort of big occasions. And as I said earlier, that's the opportunity Rangers have to go to Portugal next week. These are the games that put you in the shop window for these type of clubs. And for Engels was solid. I don't think Yang and Tanetke could really get in the game. Yang done a bit more than Sebastian Tanetke. Real Hatate started really well, but then kind of faded off. Obviously, he gets the first yellow card, which is stupid.
He faded right off the pitch.
He did. Daizen Maeda just done a Daizen Maeda shift. Would love to see the amount of ground he covered in that game. Just ridiculous. Obviously done well for the goal as well, although it was sort of tied with a little bit of fortune at the goalkeeper passed it straight to him. And I think, to be fair, Daiser Maeda was maybe lucky not to be shown a second yellow card right at the end. There was a late tackle he put in already on a yellow, so Celtic will obviously be lucky to have him for the final game, in which a point could be enough, but I wouldn't count on it. I think Celtic need to get 3 points, and I think they're well capable at home to Utrecht's side, struggling both in the Europa League with just 1 point this season. I don't know how they're getting on in their game against Genk, I believe it is the now, because it was delayed.
They were losing 2-0 last I saw.
Yeah, so there you go, and struggling in Eredivisie as well. So that should be a win for Celtic, and if they can't win that, then they can have no complaints and no expectations really to go and do anything in the Europa League this season. I still don't expect Celtic to go very far, but I'd probably be a lot more confident in them with the 2 European performances under Martin O'Neill than I would have been a few weeks ago. So yeah, really big result for Celtic in the context of the belief of the squad and what they're doing under Martin O'Neill. Probably gives them a lot of confidence going into that game on Sunday. I think if Celtic are to play like they have in Europe in the 2 games under Martin O'Neill specifically, then they'll give most of the teams in that competition a game.
And next week's game against Utrecht at home, even if I was to give you a choice, if that game was away or at home, you would say no, that would be a brilliant game to finish off with, and 60,000 in at the game.
Yeah, exactly that. And despite the 2 positive Martin O'Neill results in Europe coming away from home, and that's been a shift for Celtic. I think you'll have to go back to the last time Martin O'Neill was the Celtic manager to find a Celtic team that was good at getting results away from home in Europe. So yeah, that's been a real switch. But of course, you want to have the last game at home. You need to win. It's against a weak opposition. It has a lot of comparisons to the Young Boys game last season, where Celtic needed a result on the final, the second last day, but obviously they were going to Villa Park on the last day, which is not something you would want to go needing points. So yeah, and I think it will have that sort of nervy atmosphere to it, where the crowd will be on edge, and they'll just be hoping that there isn't 3 or 4 disallowed goals, whatever there was last time. And a penalty miss, I think there was as well, I think if I remember correctly. So yeah, Celtic should be big favourites for that one, although there's a massive match to be played in between then and now. And I believe the Utrecht goalkeeper is a familiar face, Vasilius Barkas, one of the worst signings in Scottish football history. So, yeah, that'll be a laugh. And knowing how things usually work in football, you expect him to have an absolute blinder at Celtic Park.
Yeah, he'll be the man of the match next week. We see this one, Alex. But Alex, I mean, a lot of Rangers fans and a lot of fans in general were saying, well, Martin O'Neill, you're getting him out the old folks' home as well. But I mean, it just shows you he's still in the dugout and he's still passionate about the game. He got a yellow card tonight.
Yeah, he was not happy. He was like me. He was not happy with the Hatate decision. I think Martin O'Neill is there. He does know a thing or two, obviously, more than a thing or two. He's a vastly experienced manager, but I think he's there because he's a presence. He's a leader. He's a legend at the club. The players will respond to him. I think a lot of the modern, so maybe in the modern game, a lot of the stuff is a lot of the inputs coming from Sean Maloney. But obviously Martin O'Neill does know quite a bit about football as well. So I think it's a good combination of a legendary sort of figure who is well respected, has shown time and time again that he's a good manager, and a young guy who has proved he's a good coach. Not so much in the main dugout, the main man in the dugout, obviously, failure at Hibs. I don't think it's unfair to say that he was a failure at Hibs, but Sean Maloney does have lots of coaching experience. I feel like it's a good combination of those two, and Celtic are improving. I mean, their performances haven't been. I don't think there's been any 10 out of 10, but they've been. You saw like maybe you could say the Dundee United game, the first game back. I think there were some issues towards the start of the game, but then once they broke Dundee United down, it was plain sailing. But I feel like you can see the clear difference already, how quickly it's turned around off the back of Wilfred Nancy. So yeah, they're doing really, really well. And like I said, I don't think there's been a 10 out of 10 performance, but they're getting results in the backs to the wall, 10 men. People might come out and criticise you threw away a 2-0 lead. They shouldn't have been 2-0 up by that point. With 10 men, they got their first goal, and they were really, really good. And in the first half, Bologna did have opportunities though, so and they couldn't finish due to some bad finishing, but also, like we mentioned earlier, Austin Trusty, Liam Scale. Trusty was amazing, by the way. I know we spoke about him earlier, but oh my God, just the way he was throwing his body at everything. You could see he was ready to die out there on that pitch. And that's exactly what you want in your centre back. But yeah, like back to my original point, people will say they threw away a 2-0 lead, but I think they did really, really well in a backs to the wall performance down to 10 men against a side where you could see clear attacking talent. I mean, I was impressed by Rowe on down the right hand side for Bologna. He obviously scored the goal. I thought he was good the entire evening. It was an interesting battle between him and Kieran Tierney on that side. So yeah, really, really terrific performance. And I think one of the main differences tonight that we saw from Wilfred Nancy leaving and Martin O'Neill coming in, appearance, attitude, just the will to get a result over the line. And I feel like, they're not crumbling at the first sign of adversity. They're fighting for everything. I mean, like I said, Trusty was willing to die on that pitch. Under Wilfred Nancy, he looked like Bambi. So it's.
I think it's a little bit unfair. I think that's a little bit unfair on Trusty. I think he was put in difficult situations under Wilfred Nancy. I'll say that.
That's what I'm saying, though. It's a change.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Managerial change. I thought, I'm speaking to the impact of Martin O'Neill and actually playing players in their actual position. Instead of trying to make him a sweeper with two fullbacks at the side of him, basically defending himself, and running away from men bursting down the left-hand side. He wouldn't have done that tonight. Austin Trusty, like I said, he looked like Bambi under Wilfred Nancy. Celtic very, very good tonight, and they've shown sort of that ability to overcome adversity. I think in all their games there's been points so far. I know I've rambled on for a bit, but this is my last bit, I swear. Even in the Falkirk game, Falkirk were the better side, but Celtic got the result. So, that I think that is one of the clear changes, probably the most profound change since Martin O'Neill's come back in.
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of what Alex said, and especially on the adversity point. I think Celtic faced a tremendous amount of adversity in this game, of course, going down to 10 men. Martin O'Neill probably thinking on his mind, along with Sean Maloney, do we change it up? Do we take one of the wingers off? But no, they kept with what they were doing, and it obviously brings them the second goal. A wee bit fortunate from the corner, but and then at half-time he does make the change when he takes Tanecki off for Benjamin Negan, who I didn't think was great when he came on. I thought he's defending. Obviously, he had to do a lot of that with how Celtic played, especially until Bologna get their second goal. And over a half an hour to play when they get that first goal was a long time, a lot of football to play a man down, especially with how the game was going. And then even the best part of 20 minutes when they get the equaliser, you're thinking it's inevitable that they're going to kick on and get a third and a winner. But Celtic kept going. And they also, I think Celtic kind of went for it a little bit in the final stages as well. They had a little few opportunities that if they had played better, there was one where I think it was Johnny Kenny who was sort of played down the left channel, and the obvious pass was to sweep it across to Daizen Maeda with his left foot, but he obviously didn't back his ability probably, and then pulled back. But I thought all of the substitutes really that came on weren't too great, unless I'm missing anyone who was I think it was just Nygren, Kenny, and Ralston. Anthony Ralston was okay. I would say he was all right. He was pretty solid.
Did he get his passport back?
Yeah, he must have done. That was quite a funny situation. But yeah, he obviously played his part when he came on. But I thought Johnny Kenny, Benjamin Nygren, and Paulo Bernardo didn't do enough, and that's maybe when Celtic need to. I think how the commentators say that they're looking for 3 more players. I don't know how reliable that is and if that'll happen knowing Celtic, but we've obviously got the striker that they were looking for, and now we don't know much about this guy. He's obviously had a decent record in spells, but most of his career what?
You know my opinion on Big Thomas, don't you?
Yeah, I said decent record in spells. Has he not had a decent record in spells?
I think he's had a decent record maybe once or twice.
Yeah, well, that's spells. And then for most of his career, never. Yeah, well, it is, isn't it? It's a spell of play. He's had decent spells, especially at Sparta Prague, probably his best before he got his move to the Bundesliga with Borussia Mönchengladbach, where it didn't really work for him. Went out on loan at Italia Sport, didn't work there either. So yeah, he's coming off a player. He's a player that will look to sort of redeem himself at Celtic, and yeah, I think he can be a promising player for Celtic in the run in. I think Martin O'Neill was possibly trying to take the responsibility off his shoulders yesterday when he said that he wouldn't be the striker that Celtic rely on for all the goals or something along those lines, he said. So, yeah, but I think he will be unless Celtic go out to sign another striker, but which I think they probably should do, but whether they will do is another question. I think they need another winger, and they certainly need another central defender as well if they want to really be strong going into the final innings of the title race. And of course a massive game on Sunday as well. How much does playing a man down against a team like Bologna play into the recovery of Celtic ahead of that match at Tynecastle against the Hearts side who have had over a week to recover? Of course they'll be wanting to bounce back from that defeat. Got a few injuries as well, so I think it's going to be an excellent game on Sunday. 2 excellent games on Sunday, and yeah, it just keeps going this season, and hopefully all 3 sides are right up and at it until the final day, because I think that is very much on the cards.
What do you think of the game on Sunday, Ethan? The top 2 at Tynecastle?
I think it's going to be a really close game. I don't think there's an outright favourite at the minute. A few weeks ago, if you'd asked me, I probably would have said Hearts. Now I think you've got to say Celtic. I don't know if you've got to say Celtic, but
I'm edging towards Celtic as the favourites.
Yeah,
well, I mean, if you look at the injury list, Shanklin's out for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, 8 weeks, I think it is. Devlin and Birmingham, that's 3 key players out that team.
Yeah, that's 3 key players of the spine of the team, and they're also coming off the back of a big defeat in the Cup. Celtic on a high, probably maybe their highest point of the season. The players seem to be growing ever closer to the manager and Martin O'Neill and what he's doing. And yeah, I think it's difficult to imagine Celtic losing a domestic match under Martin O'Neill at the minute because they've just been so strong his first spell and second spell that no matter if they're playing poorly, they seem to be getting the results, as Alex said. So yeah, I think I'd give Celtic the slight edge, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hearts come away with a a win or a draw. And I think if Celtic don't go to Tynecastle and pick up a win, I don't see Celtic winning the Scottish Premiership title.
Oh,
Jake McInnes as a just has the number of every different Celtic manager. No, I'm joking, obviously, but
we'll see. We'll see. Maybe he does. I don't know. Maybe he does.
I think you spoke. We've obviously spoke about the big injuries for Hearts, but I just wanted to touch on something Ethan was talking about: Celtic substitutions and squad depth, and I think that's one of the main strengths and why Hearts are doing so well. Obviously, they've lost their two best players, which very, very difficult to replace. But I think Hearts do have a deep squad where they can bring in obviously players that won't be as good, but decent enough players to sort of fill that gap for the time being. So I feel like that is definitely one of Hearts' strengths. Like I said, I'm leaning towards Celtic as favourites, very slim favourites, I think. I think Celtic are still building towards being better under Martin O'Neill. Hearts are obviously weakened by Shankland and Devlin being out. So I think that sort of has bridged the gap slightly, and I think it will make for a really entertaining game. So yeah, hopefully it will be a fascinating draw.
You want me to give a prediction? Not for the scoreline, but this is my prediction. If Hearts win, I think Hearts will win the league. If Celtic win, I think Celtic will win the league. If it's a draw, I think Rangers will win the league.
You're putting that much stock in this game.
No, not quite. But I think it probably change my whereabouts as my favourites, because I think I still have Hearts as my favourites at the minute. I've had them as my favourites for quite a while. I'd say Celtic are probably third, slightly behind Rangers at the minute. But I think if Celtic were to win that match, then I think I would probably say Celtic are favourites.
by the way, just to back up what I'm saying here, right? Shankland and Devlin Birmingham is out, big losses for Hearts, but at the same time, big losses for Celtic Ethan, because you've got Erica Johnson, you've got Joe that's been out all season now. I don't think you'll see him until pre-season. And I think Carl Vickers might be more serious than everybody thinks.
Yeah, I think the players, you can't really expect them to be back before the conclusion of the season. 3 of Celtic's probably most key players. So
I think you'll see Alistair Johnson before the end of the season.
I don't think that's a relevant. No offense, Michael. I don't think that's a relevant point to make, because they've been missing for yonks.
Yeah, so, but the point is, Alex, that there's a big sort of thing being made about Hearts are missing their 2 best players, and they are. But Celtic are missing a lot of players as well. I think that's
but they have been missing. They've been dealing with that for.
But Hearts haven't had to deal with players of that. Players being that's that. So this is where that's why I think if Hearts were to beat Celtic, I'd be really confident that all the adversity they have to go through, missing their 2 midfielders and Devlin Birmingham obviously suspended, and then certainly their best goal scorer, their best attacker in Lawrence Shankland, then what can't they do? But if they rely on these players too heavily, then maybe they're going to see a dip in form, which would possibly be expected. But then again, Devlin and Shankland aren't players that are good because they're good analytics, and Hearts brought them in the Jamestown analytics. They've just been good, consistent players at Hearts for years. So you're bringing in guys that have got good analytics. They've been brought in because they're expected to be great signings. And I think players like Kabori, who we've not really seen too much, I think he could possibly live up to the billing and be a really good replacement for Shankland. The midfield area is the one I'm more concerned about. I don't know if they've not got another Cammy Devlin. I don't think, and I'm not saying Kabori's another Lawrence Shankland, but I think he could certainly chip in with a few goals.
There you go then. That's a European show that it's been positive, because up till now it's been a bit negative during the shows, but two good results, but two it means nothing to Rangers qualifying, but the confidence is up. Confidence is up at Celtic, but a must-win game that's first going to be at Parkhead as well. Thanks to Ethan, thanks to Alex as well. We'll be back tomorrow with a big build-up, and don't forget on Tuesday night, Monday night, we've got a special show coming up. I don't know if I'm able to mention the guy's name that's coming on the show, but let's just say he works in Sky Sports. So he'll be on Monday night. Tuesday night, we've got a show about women's football. And so that's all coming up as well. And in a few weeks' time, we've got a show focusing on none other than, St. Johnstone, that we don't talk about very often on the show. Our resident St. Johnstone fan, Alistair, has got a book out about St. Johnstone, and he'll be on the show speaking about that. And also we'll have an interview with Agam Webb, the St. Johnstone chairman. So that's coming up in a few weeks' time. So get subscribing to the channel, guys. It's the Scottish Football Zone. Thanks to Jack and Victor for joining me tonight. And sorry, Ethan and Alex. And we'll be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock, building up to the weekend's action in the Scottish Premiership.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.